नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled Creation, Chapter 9, The Passing of Bhismadev, text number 13. Samsthite tirthe pandau pratha bala prajabadhuh yusmat krite bahun kleshan prapta tokavati muhu. Samsthite tirthe pandau pratha bala prajabadhuh yusmat krite bahun kleshan prapta tokavati muhu. Samsthite tirthe pandau pratha prajabadhuh yasmat krite bahun kleshan prapta tokavati muhu.
Samsthite tirthe pandau Atithe Pandu Prathabala Prajavadu Yushmakrute Bahun Kleshan Apta Tokavati Muhu.
Synonyms: Samsthite, after the demise, Atirathe, of the big general, Pando, Pandu, Pratha, Kunti, Bala Praja, having young children, Vadhuhu, my daughter-in-law, Yusmat Krite, on your account, Bahun, multi-phase, Kleshan, afflictions, Prapta, underwent, Tokavati, in spite of having grown-up boys, Muhuhu, constantly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were grown up, she suffered a great deal also because of your actions. Translation with repetition. As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were grown up, she suffered a great deal also because of your actions. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The sufferings of Kunti Devi are doubly lamented. She suffered greatly because of early widowhood and to get her minor children brought up in their royal family. And when her children were grown up, she continued to suffer because of her son's actions. So her sufferings continued. This means that she was destined to suffer by providence, and this one has to tolerate without being disturbed. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So let us understand this verse, very interesting verse that we have today. Samskite Tiratre Pando Pratha Bala Prajabadhu Yusmat Krite Bahun Kleshan Prakta Tokavati Mu. Samskite is after the passing away.
Yeah, I think it's an internet issue, bro.
Samskite Tirate Pando Pratha Bala Prajabadhu. Pratha Bala Prajabadhu. Kunti Maharani became a widow at a very young age, and she had young children to grow them up. And in an environment which was very hostile, where everybody was against her children. Yusmat Krite Bahun Kleshan Prapta Tokavati Mu. Yusmat Krite, because of your action, Bahun Kleshan. She also had to go through a lot of sufferings. Prapta Tokavati Mu. Prapta Tokavati, though she was children, she was having Tokavati. Toka is actually son. Tokavati, somebody who has got sons. Tokavati and Prabhupada is saying grown up children. Prapta Tokavati Mu. She had grown up children, but because of your action, Yusmat Krite Bahun Klesha, she had to suffer more. So the young age, she became widow, she had to raise children, and at an advanced age, when she was supposed to be dependent on her grown-up sons, because of their actions, she again suffered. Tokavati Mu. Klesham Prapta Tokavati Mu. As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, Vadhuhu, as far as my daughter-in-law Kunti, Pratha Vadhuhu, is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death, Samstite Atirate Pandu, the great General Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children. Bala Praja, she had many children and she became a widow. And therefore she suffered greatly. Kleshan, the Kleshan is used for both the lines. Samskite Tirate Pandu, Pratha Bala Praja Yusmat Krite Bahun Kleshan, Prakpato Kavati. And when you were grown up, so Dokavati, she suffered a great deal also because of your actions. Yusmat Krite Bahun Kleshan. It's not coming. And the purport Prabhupada mentions some very striking points which you will pay attention to. If you remember in the previous chapter, we had this verse which says, Aho Kashtam Aho Nyayam Yad Yuyam Dharmanandana Jivitum Nahata Krishna Dharma Chuta Vipra Dharma Chutashraya. Vipra Dharma Chutashraya. That is what we had taken last time to understand. Vipra Dharma Chutashraya. How by taking shelter of Vipra, Dharma and Achyuta, even in the most trying circumstances, one will be unaffected. Actually, when the trying circumstances come in life, when we are put into some kind of a test, when we are tested, first thing that we compromise is on the religious principles, dharma. Or practicing religious principles becomes difficult. So because of that, practicing religious principles becoming difficult, a person doesn't feel that he or she should seek advice or take guidance from Vaishnavas. So religious principle practicing has become difficult, taking advice is gone, then one forgets about Krishna, Vipra Dharma Chutashraya. But if somebody follows, no matter what, the religious principles doggedly, without compromising, takes advice from the Vipras, and always takes shelter of Krishna, then he can never be under any kind of distress, despite the fact that there are trying circumstances. Today's purport, actually, Prabhupada mentions, the previous purport we had, as long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of the Lord, guided by the bona fide Brahmins and Vaishnavas, and strictly following religious principles, one has no cause for despondency, however trying the circumstances of life is. And in today's purport, Prabhupada mentions there are 4 lines. First line, Prabhupada is saying the sufferings of Kunti Devi are doubly lamented. Why it is doubly lamented? I mean, suffering is always lamented, but why it is doubly lamented? You see the reasons. First, she suffered greatly because of early widowhood and to get her minor children brought up in the royal family. This is a very big misery. I mean, this is not a small thing. For any ordinary single mother to raise her children by her own listing is tough. So she suffered greatly because of her early widowhood and to get her minor children brought up in the royal family. A. B. And when her children were grown up, she continued to suffer because of her son's actions. Now these are things which you have to pay close attention. You may suffer because of somebody else's actions. Yes. And when her children were grown up, she continued to suffer because of her son's actions. Third, so her sufferings continued. And the third thing which Prabhupada is mentioning, this means that she was destined to suffer by providence. Oh, so there is something else also. You suffer because of your own action, some karma, whatever we say. You suffer because of somebody else's actions. And there is a suffering which is happening because of providence. This means that she was destined to suffer by providence. And this one has to tolerate without being disturbed. This one has to tolerate without being disturbed. So you have to learn to tolerate some of the sufferings without being disturbed. Actually, today morning I got some important this thing and got distracted and had to attend to that because something very urgent. Something, there is in the scriptures they talk about 3 things. One is called Nitya Dharma, one is called Naivitika Dharma, and one is called Apatakaya Dharma. Nitya Dharma, which we like every day we get up, we have to take our our baths, to do our ablutions. You can't tell, can you do for me, take bath, finish it, whatever it is, and I can be free and I will come and give a class. Then you have to do your duties, you have to do your nitya dharma. Naimitika dharma is something which we do for the pleasure of the Lord. Like we are coming, attending Mangalarti, chanting the names of the Lord, singing Hare Krishna mantra, hearing Bhagavatam class, all that Naimitika. And there is Apatakaya. Apatakaya is an emergency which takes precedence. Now, when we are busy doing all this Nitya, Naimitika and Apatakaya dharma, one very important thing which we have to understand is that this message of Bhagavatam is so important, so critical. And you see, you somehow have to develop an appreciation. That appreciation currently is missing because we don't know the value of Bhagavatam. We have not read, we have not gone through it, and we have come across here and there something little bit, but we don't know really how it can transform our life completely. Vishaya Vidusita, whatever the polluted, confused aim of our life is, whatever the polluted goal of our life, completely can become purified. Vishaya Vidusita, the goal of life itself can be changed. Because the narrative, the story that we are carrying for ourselves is driven by so many factors around us, the society, upbringing, and so many things. And Bhagavatam can purify that, can change that narrative, change the story, the path, the paradigm, the vision that we are carrying for ourselves. I will talk about one verse and I think we will not be able to cover what I wanted to say today because there are a lot of things, a lot of very interesting things, a lot of very powerful things which Prabhupada has mentioned about tolerance, about suffering, and types of suffering, types of tolerance, what we need to tolerate. But whatever we will cover, and whatever we can't, we will do it in the next class. But I want to start with one verse which comes in Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 7th chapter, I think it is 11th verse, where it is mentioned, this is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami, no, it is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. He says, Hare Guna Shukta Hare Guna Shukta Bhagavan Badarayana Adhyagan Mahadakhyana Nityam Vishnu Janapriya. Hare Guna Shukta. Actually, it doesn't matter who we are, how disturbed we are in material world, how much aggrieved we are because of lust, anger, greed. It doesn't matter how pure we are situated in Brahman. Hare Guna Akshiptamate. Hare, the qualities of the Lord, Guna, Hare Guna and activities are so enchanting. It can take the mind of any conditioned living entity. Forget about conditioned living entity. Even an exalted person who is fixed in Brahman, his mind also can be captured. Hare Guna Akshiptamate Bhagavan Badarayana. Same happened to Sukadeva Goswami. Adhyagan Mahadakhyana. He was so much fixed in the Brahman realization. He didn't know this thing for Krishna's glories and activities. He was not interested. But Vedavyas sent his disciples and just spoke 2 verses. One was Barha Vidam Natavara Babu, the beauty of Krishna when he enters into the Rasarata. Barha Vidam Natavara Babu, that verse. And the other one was when Putana, she came with the deadliest poison smearing her breast and wanted to breastfeed Krishna. She got the position of his mother. These 2 verses, when these disciples of Vedavyas spoke, even the transcendentalists, Brahman realized Sukadeva Goswami got attracted. Hare Guna Shuktamate Bhagavan Badarayana Adhyagan Mahadakhyana Nityam Vishnu Janapriya. Another very interesting thing which happens is when we hear Bhagavatam, when we come together and glorify and hear the pastings of the Lord, we all become dear to Vishnu Jana, and we all develop a nice relationship. Actually, the devotee relationship can improve and enhance and increase if somebody comes together and hears Bhagavatam completely, nicely, with attention, regularly. Hare Guna Shuktamate Bhagavan Badarayana Adhyagan Mahadakhyana Nityam Vishnu Janapriya. It has got so much of power, medium, that it can enhance the relationship and it can bring us closer to Vishnu Janapriya. So today we are seeing this wonderful prayers by Vishnudev. And as I mentioned, in this previous verse and in this verse also, the word that is repeated is Krishna or Kesha. This one, the previous verse had Krishna, and in this verse is telling Yusmat Krate Bahum Kesha. Sometime back, maybe not too long back, we were having a discussion about these miseries, the sufferings, and I want to start from there. What do you think? What is suffering? Sometimes repetition is good. We think we know. We probably think we have read, have gone through. But still, repetition is needed because, as Prabhupada mentions in one of the purports of one Bhagavatam verse, that our knowledge about Krishna is always attacked. It is attacked by time, by laziness, and by demoniac thoughts. It is attacked by time, laziness, and anti-Krishna thoughts of demoniac persons. These are the exact words of Prabhupada. So, we might have heard yesterday. Today, if you ask, what was it that we spoke yesterday? Oh, it's tough. It's not easy to remember because that's how our Kaliuga memory is. And our heart, the heart which is hungry, is filled with so many desires for enjoying the material world, or so many beliefs that I can be happy. So it fades away. So time, and then there is the anti-Krishna thoughts, and laziness that is. So that's why repeating is very, very nice, very good. So what exactly is suffering? Can anybody give me a definition of suffering?
It's like when you go under, you undergo stress and pain.
Stress and pain. Okay. And why do you undergo stress and pain?
Because you're experiencing conflict.
Experiencing conflict. So stress and pain. It's something unpleasant. Okay. Any other reasons why we are? What exactly is suffering? Any other definition?
When you are trying to satisfy your senses and they are not satisfied.
When you are trying to satisfy your senses and you are not satisfied, okay?
Things are not going as per the...
Things are not going as planned, okay?
When you're looking for something but you cannot find it.
What is it?
When you're looking for something but you cannot find it.
When you're looking similar, when you're looking for something and you're not finding, or things are not going the way you want it. Trying to satisfy.
When the situation is not in,
What is it?
when the situation is not in favor to satisfy our senses.
Yeah, what was your thing? Trying to satisfy the senses?
And you can satisfy.
And you can't satisfy, okay. Sickness is unpleasant experience. Sickness, stress.
Ego is not satisfied.
Ego is not satisfied. Ego is always satisfying.
Always is suffering.
Yeah. So very interesting. These definitions are important to meditate on. We said about unpleasant experience, stress, sickness, all those things. That's what is suffering. What I want, I did not get, or what I'm looking for, I don't get, and so on and so forth. In fact, Prabhupada uses one word in this context, and that is called conditioning. We are so conditioned to happiness, but we don't get it. We just don't get it. I mean, we try, and there are sufferings which are inflicted on us. It is as if happiness is like something called which Prabhupada's word, Bhagavatam, or what is the other one that he uses? Rabbit's horn. Rabbit is there, horn is there, but there is no rabbit's horn. Horse is there, egg is there, but there is no horse's egg. Word. As if it doesn't. Castle in the air. Castle is there, air is there. Castle in the air, it doesn't. So anybody who says that this material world I can get happiness, it is compared to like Bhagavatam, or it is compared to like what is that, rabbit song. I don't exactly remember what was the Sanskrit or Bengali that Prabhupada uses, or Akasa Pushpa, castle in there. Is it really true that there is no happiness in this material world? Is it 100% true? Well, it is true but we don't accept and we think there is happiness because of our conditioning in wrong things. Like whoever the philosopher who says, happily married, and he questions, are you either happy or you are married? Happily married is like a ask. But anyway, so when it comes to the question of happiness, and one thing one should ask is, should there be happiness at all in this material world? Why there should be happiness? You see, you take any product, and if you want to know about that product, I have got this iPhone. Apple company can give you the maximum definition of the description about this phone, how to use, what to do, everything can be known from Apple. Similarly, if this creation is compared to a product, the creator of this creation has stamped it, called Dukhalaya Asasvata. Dukhalaya. So it's a place of misery, it's a place of suffering. Like I was telling the other day, like you go to a hospital in Hindi is known as Rugnalaya. So you go to a hospital, you find that there are a lot of patients, somebody has got some saline, this thing, somebody is getting some injection, somebody is cut, something is going on. Hospital, you go, it's only suffering. And then there is somebody who's questioning, hey, I'm getting bored sitting here, sleeping here in the same dress, not able to go for my, not able to even take bath, same khichdi and one, this thing you are giving, bland food, I'm done with this, give me some variety. Look at your chart, BP this much, and whatever, hypertension, whatever, everything is, like this thing. What you will get? You will get only that kind of food. You don't have a choice. You go to Himalaya and you question, why there is ice all over? Hey Baba, it's Himalaya, this is the place of ice only. Or you go to some medicine store, Aushadhalaya, and you say, only medicines? I want some variety. It's medicine. So this is Dukhalaya. There's only suffering here. So somebody says that I've never experienced suffering in my life. And what will happen just by hearing your philosophy? Do you think suffering is going to go away? My sufferings, whatever I am going through, is it going to go away? The answer is yes, and an emphatic yes. How can it happen? Somebody should question these things. If I am hearing philosophy, if I am hearing Bhagavatam and Bhagavatam, how can I get, how my suffering will go? You see, often what happens, when we do some treasure hunt or something, we find some clues, we go from one place, we can stand or you're asleep. If we go from one place to another and we find some clues, and then we go to the next one, and then it ultimately, culminates in finding the treasure. So imagine if you are going for a treasure hunt, and somebody has given you the map, and he says that this is the route that you have to follow, and then finally on the northern direction if you go, and then there is a tree, underneath that tree, if you dig, you will find the treasure. Even if you have not gotten the treasure, this map will give you that confidence. Yes, I know the route. I know I have not reached there. It's like earlier days when I used to work, in the beginning days, there was no online bank account. So they will deposit the salary in the bank account, and we used to have a passbook. So we will go to the bank. The person who's there, the teller, he will change. He will edit the account balance. Whatever the money was, 10,000, it becomes 20,000. So actually the money I have not seen. He's just writing it. But that means that the money has already been deposited. Or somebody gives a check, 5 lakhs rupees. That check has not been encashed. I'm just carrying the check with me. But that check means that the moment I deposit, I will get the money. Something like that. Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam gives us a path how we can escape from the cycle of birth and death, and what we need to do so that we can experience that eternal happiness. We are Satchit and Ananda. We seek happiness. Ananda Maya Abhyasana. That is our nature. But unfortunately, we are stuck in this material world and conditioned, and we are trying to find happiness where it is not there, and we are getting suffering. I had told this mental construct, and it's a very important one to know. Imagine if you have 4 friends, 4 of them are suffering from jaundice, and 4 other friends who are normal. And whoever is the cook, Mataji has made, let's say, the juice as sugarcane juice. And you give the sugarcane juice to the 4 people who are jaundice patients, the 4 people who are normal. They all drank that. The 4 people said, "Kadwa hai, kahan se diya hai?" The 4 other people who are normal, they are saying it's tasty, it's sweet. So who's telling, who's right, who's wrong? Both are right. Both are right. But the right thing doesn't mean that they are correct. If your body has got proper digestion system and you have the proper secretion of bile, actually sugar cane juice is sweet. But if not, then it will appear as bitter. This is exactly what is happening to us. People who are in this material world, they want to experience happiness, but there is misery. But they want. And there are other devotees who are practicing devotional life. They are saying, here is happiness. Why don't you try? We don't try that. There is that verse of Nectar of Instruction where Rupa Goswami says, Syat Krishna Nama Charitati Sita Pi Avidya Ito Padapta Vasanasya Narochikani Kintu Adarad Anudinam Kalu Saiva Drishta Swatvi Kramad Bhavati Tatkada Mulam. Very beautiful verse. Syat Krishna Nama Charitati. Krishna's names and Charita, his activities, are all like Sita. Sita is a solid sugar candy. Solid sugar candy which you put it in your mouth, it cannot be bitter. It is that tasty. Syat Krishna Nama Charitati Sita Pyavidya. Pito Padatta Rasanasya Narochika. Because of this imbalance of the bile, whatever the secretion, I am not able to experience that taste. At least give it a try, You are not able to experience. This is the reason he is telling. What is the solution? Solution is Kintu Adara Anudinam. Kintu Adara Anudinam Kalu Saiva Dushta. Like Adara, little bit of, somebody has come to your house. You ask him, okay, you sit properly, you take some, glass of water, you take care of him. Adara. So with that little adara, with that little care, with that little attention, when we try this, Kintu Adara Anudinam Kalu Saiva Dushta. Anudinam, every day when we try with that, let me try. Not only we will develop taste, but this disease also will go completely. So when the Karmis say that you guys are not enjoying, you have given up your material enjoyment of going to cinema, you are getting up early in the morning, what's all going on? We also look at them and we say, hey Baba, you've got a human body, you're doing all kinds of simple actions. How come you are? So they consider we are crazy, we consider they are crazy. So Prabhupada has written one article in Bhagavatam magazine called Who's Crazy? Who's Crazy? Very interesting article, you should read that. And there he says, it is the paradigm through which we are seeing that needs to change. When we see with the right paradigm and when we understand, when we see these Vedic injunctions, when we get them, there is real happiness. It's just because of the jaundice, the disease of jaundice, I'm not able to experience that. And the moment that jaundice is gone, I can experience that happiness. I told you the story of that video that I had seen once of the Japanese children who were getting the COVID, what do you call it? Vaccinations. How many people remember? So it's such an eye-opener actually. You see the video, as I said, Kali Yuga memory is so good, you repeat also, people don't remember. You can go and then they'll say, oh, ask the one Gola, bahut acha tha. Yeah. It's the same thing which I'm told. So there is one 3 or 4 year old kids, they were getting vaccination. It's a Japanese video, Japanese YouTube video. It's there, if you search, you will find it. There's a nice music which is being played, and the doctor and the nurse walks in. There are maybe about 30-40 group of children who are there. So the doctor comes and he picks up one boy and one child and he shows him, points him to a teddy bear. So the child is looking at that teddy bear with great amusement. Kya teddy bear, something like that. And the nurse by the time removes the syringe and does that 2 times, whatever that bubble is removed. And suddenly he puts it in the hand. For the child to even respond to that pain, it takes some time. So there's this facial expression he does and then he cries. The moment he cries, the child has been put in the one side. It's done. So the second child comes. Same thing, they show him to the teddy bear. Same teddy bear, that child also looks with great amusement, and that same chant, some music is going on, that Japanese music, and then same thing they do, and then they put that injection, that child cries, and they put him over there, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. When it comes to the seventh child, when the injection is gone, the first child who was crying there starts smiling. You see, there is a lot of things that we can learn from this. First, there is misery comes when we are least expecting, when we are completely absorbed in this material world. The attraction, the glitter, the glamour, something is going on nicely, music, teddy bear, looks very attractive. Suddenly one injection goes, very painful. So misery comes unsought when we are least expecting. Second thing that we should learn from this is that misery loves company. I mean, if you see that you are not alone, you are also crying, somebody else is crying, third person is also crying, then your misery gradually reduces. It's not just, the fact that I am not the only one. There are so many people who are crying, it gets, reduced. Point I'm trying to say is, the creation of the Lord is so wonderful that all of us, we don't get the miseries at the same time. We don't suffer at the same time. It is so created, so orchestrated, so nicely designed. Somebody is experiencing happiness, somebody is experiencing misery, somebody is experiencing suffering. Somebody is going through some bad phase of life, rough phase, reversals, and somebody is just experiencing happiness. Had it been all at once, we are suffering, we would have figured it out. There is something wrong here. And then we will change our plan of action and we will become this thing. But it doesn't happen like that. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, this verse comes which says, Krishna bhuliya jeev bhogavancha kare, nikatastha maya dhare chaputiya dhare. This, if you understand, what does it mean? Krishna bhuliya, the moment we forget Krishna, we are inviting suffering. And nikatastha maya dhare chaputiya dhare. Immediately the maya captures. How does it happen? Immediately. How many of you have used a rat trap in your lives? Rat trap, the Indian ones, where you will have something hanging and keep the lights dark. The rats have a very powerful smelling organ. Their noses, the smelling power is very strong. So they will smell that there is a nice chapati or roti or whatever, puri, something you have put. And the rat goes inside and he eats that. The moment he takes that bite, that door closes. That sound the rat can hear, but he's busy, he's taking that puri so nicely, he's enjoying. We'll figure it out. And then he sees, hey, this side is also closed, that side is also closed, this side is closed, back side is also closed. How did I come inside? Nikatastha maya dhare, chapatiya dhare. Krishna bhuliya ji bhogavancha kare. So the moment we forget Krishna and we desire and independently want to enjoy Krishna bhuliya ji bhogavancha kare, nikatastha maya dhare, chapatiya dhare. So, coming back to this verse and talking about suffering, we have to understand that there are sufferings which we undergo in our lives that is different from the sufferings that pure devotees undergo in life, and that is different from the sufferings that normal karmis undergo in life. So the reasons for pure devotee suffering is different from the reasons for the sadhakas like us going through suffering is different. And the reasons for the karmis going through suffering is different. And if we can finish this, but let's take the first one. What causes pure devotees to suffer? Why do they suffer? What is there in this? So Prabhupada explains there are two reasons why the pure devotees have to go through suffering. A, to set examples for people that despite going through this kind of trying circumstances and difficulties and sufferings, they didn't budge. They were so determined to be engaged in devotional service. Only pure devotees can do. We can't do that. Second thing, the sufferings that they go through actually intensify their love and devotion to Krishna. It's very difficult to understand. If you see closely the prayers of Kunti Maharani, where we saw that Visham Mahatma Purushada Darshana Asat Savaya Vanavasa Krichata, Bride Aneka Maharatastra, Browni Astratas Kasma Harivarashata. So many miseries he's going through. But despite going through all those miseries, she's telling Vipada Santuta Sasva Tatra Tatra Jagavara. Bhavata Darshanam Yatsya Napunar Bhavadarshana. Why she's asking? If miseries are really bad, if it is only the cause of suffering, it's an unpleasant thing. Why she's asking? But there is something to relish in that only pure devotees can experience, not us, not anyone of us. There is something, because seeing Krishna, remembering Krishna, gives them so much of ecstasy and joy. They don't mind having those sufferings again and again in life. Vipada Santuta Sasva, Tatra Tatra Jagat. Let it come again and again. Because that gives me a chance to remember Krishna. That gives me a chance to be in presence of Krishna, which ensures that Bhavadarshana, that no more taking birth in this material world. What causes practicing devotees to suffer? People like us to suffer. We say if we do any simple activities, we transgress the laws of religion, dharma. We do any simple activities, we suffer because of our karma. Mind you, our scriptures say, even if we do pious activities, forgetting Krishna, we suffer. How? Anyway, if you forget Krishna, it is inviting suffering, because the moment you are doing pious activities forgetting Krishna, that ensures you to take a body to exhaust those pious credits in this material world. That means you have accepted the body and you have to go through this. So, whether it is pious karma or whether it is transgressing the religious principles, doing any activity without remembering Krishna or without Krishna means suffering. But there is another reason why Krishna creates suffering for practicing devotees. There may be 2 or 3 reasons I can think of. One is, it is a test for us. It is a test to see whether we are convinced about this process or not. It is a test for us to remove those stresses of doubts from our heart. Otherwise, small little these things, people think, okay, maybe this is not meant for me, I'll try something else, I'll go back. The Lord deliberately creates some situation, puts us in difficult things, and sees whether we are really determined to follow this path or not. Whether we will succeed or not, that's a different thing. Whether I want to stay on the path or not. Another thing, actually the sufferings which are created by our karma and the sufferings which are created, which are orchestrated by providence of the Lord, there is a difference. The sufferings which is happening because of our karma, we have to undergo the reactions, and it's a painful thing. But because of the suffering which is created by Krishna or orchestrated by Krishna, there will be no residue of your past karma. So what does it mean? How is it different? The sinful activities that I am doing, the karma that I am doing, because of which I am getting the suffering, the reaction may continue. The 4 things that bija to phalamukha, the 4 stages of karma can continue in life after life. But the suffering which is created by Krishna, there won't be any residue. You will finish it, you will experience that. It's a situation created by the Lord. Actually, one of the things that we have to understand as per our appreciation from Bhagavatam is, there are things when you are repeatedly trying to avoid and it is not getting avoided, understand that as Krishna's plan and learn to accept. So there are causes for pure devotees to suffer, there are causes for practicing devotees to suffer, and there are causes for non-devotees to suffer. And then there are tolerances, which Bhagavatam talks about. Beautiful description. I don't want to start just maybe saying one thing which Bhagavatam is talking about. How should we tolerate and why should we tolerate? There are 4 kinds of tolerances which I mentioned. It's not coming. There are 4 kinds of tolerances which I mentioned. The first one is tolerating the urges. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jihva vegam, udara pasta vegam. Etan vegan yo vishayeta dhira. Etan vegan yo vishayeta dhira. Pratibhim sasashya. So, all the 6 vegas, the first instruction of nectar of instruction, by Rupa Goswami, he says this 6 vegas, this urges, we have to tolerate, we have to control. Vacho vegam, manasa vegam, krodha vegam, vacho. The urge to speak anything that comes to our mind is nonsense. And we keep talking all useless things that take away our life here. Before even Manasa Vegam, he speaks about Vacho Vegam. Mind has anyway, all the adjectives which we have seen from Bhagavad Gita, flickering, obstinate, dridha, chanchalam himana krishna pramati balavatridam, tasyam nigraham manye vayuriva sudaskara. So chanchalam, pramati, balavat, dridha, all these adjectives Arjuna has used. But before we can manasa vegam, vacha vegam, the urge to speak, anything that comes to our mind, we speak, any nonsense, that is to be tolerated and controlled. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam. Manasa vegam, the urges of mind. Krodha, the urges of anger. Jivva, jivva is the urge of the tongue to eat some palatable dish, anywhere to enter into this. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Jivara lalasai iti utithai, Krishnodara parayana Krishna nehai. Jivara lalasa, that to satisfy the palates, the taste buds of the tongue, the person will go anywhere. Jivara lalasai iti utithai. Krishnodara parayana, there is an Narayana parayana and there is Krishnodara parayana. Krishnodara parayana, who is looking just to satisfy his belly. Krishnodara parayana Krishna nehai, Krishna nehai. So Vacha vegam, manasa vegam, krodha vegam, jivva vegam, udara upastha vegam. Jivva, udara and upastha. Sanskrit is a very defined language, that's what Prabhupada says. Upastha is referring to the genital without mentioning it. Next to the belly. So this tongue, belly and genital, they are in one line. So if you are able to control your tongue, if the tongue is uncontrolled, then there is a lot of pressure on the belly. And the belly is full and there is pressure on the genitals. So tongue is controlled, belly is controlled, genital is controlled. And these 6 things need to be controlled and tolerated. It's the first urge that needs to be controlled. What are the next 3 that we will talk in the next class? I'll close with one last thing. When we are talking about suffering and which is inevitable, one of the things which we have to see, not even in the pure devotees who are not present, even in the life of Prabhupada, even in the life of Prabhupada's disciple like Jayananda Prabhu, how much they have tolerated. This Jayananda Prabhu, he is, I think his disappearance or appearance was there a few days back. And as we all know that we keep a picture of his on the cart of Rath Yatras that we have. He died at the age of 38. He was an American. He died at the age of 38 and he was having cancer. He was going through a lot of pain. And he died before even when Prabhupada's pastimes comes to an end, before 1977. I don't remember exactly which year, maybe 1976 or 75. He passed away, he was a Tamil president. He used to do a lot of service. It is mentioned when he was in the hospital and all those signs, everything was going on. He was going through excruciating pain. He had a lot of appreciation for prasada and distributing prasada. And his favorite item was cauliflower pakoda. So the devotees, simply to please him, had made some cauliflower pakodas and brought to him. But because of his precarious condition, because of his disease condition, he was not able to take them. But he was extremely happy distributing this cauliflower pakodas to all the patients over there. That's what was noticed by somebody. So what I'm trying to say is, sometimes the external suffering that we are seeing through our eyes, which we attribute to our past karma, and it's an unpleasant thing to our senses, the senses which can never give us the true picture, is not the case with a pure devotee. They might be going through externally very difficult this thing, but internally they might be relishing. As it happened in the case of Prabhupada also, when he had those 2 massive heart attacks, and the third heart attack when Prabhupada encountered that in New York, it was September 2nd, it was the Labor Day long weekend, Friday night it happened. There was no doctor available. They found some Jewish doctor who came to Prabhupada, and he came and he was seeing the nerve of Prabhupada. Prabhupada was very quietly but silently and determinedly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the Jewish doctor first of all told the disciples of Prabhupada that this old man is praying a lot. he should refrain, he should stop. So then Ramananda Prabhu gave a introduction of who Srila Prabhupada is, what his background is, and then he said, can you try some whiskey? So then Prabhupada anyway was fine, and they said, do you know what you are saying? And then they again tried to explain some philosophy which never went through his head. But he advised Prabhupada for going for morning walk. And since 1966 till 1977, Prabhupada continued. Of course, that person would have gotten the credit for giving that advice to Prabhupada. What I'm trying to say is, pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, even though they are going through difficult situations, trying circumstances, they are living example of how to live life without being disturbed by this thing. They genuinely are experiencing happiness. They are not disturbed. People like us, when we are put into some kind of difficult situations, it becomes too much. We become agitated. Forget about very difficult, even a small little difficult things. So it's a very important thing to learn the ability of tolerance. Prabhupada says the definition of tolerance is how does a person behave in a provoking situation? How does he, I don't remember the exact definition, but 13th chapter items of knowledge, tolerance knows. There it is mentioned, when provoking situations are coming, how does a person learn to tolerate? It's a very important thing. We will continue about this in the next class and see how the sufferings, not just urges, there are so many other things. There are 3 other things which Bhagavatam is talking about which we should learn to tolerate. I will stop here and see if you have any questions or comments. The PPD is not working, the classes started late, but Bhagavatam is at well and the discussion around Bhagavatam is also always at well. Any questions?
Who is an
Atirati. It's a definition, if you read Bhagavad Gita, I think they will have so many chariots or so many horses and they can, one person can simultaneously fight with so many people. Then based on that numbers, one is classified as a Rathi, one is classified as a Maharathi and one is classified as Atirati.
Prabhu, the sufferings due to providence, do they have any residue, like karmic residue?
So for pure devotees, the sufferings, so actually the reason I brought up that residue part. Now from 12th verse, the verse that we saw from last class, till 17th verse, Bhishma Dev is going to give us reasons why we are suffering or what are the causes of suffering. And it is not only our past karma. There is a will of the providence also. Will of the providence is different from our past karma. Then he will say there is kala. Time is also one of the factors. Where, I spoke about pure devotees, I spoke about practicing devotees, I didn't talk about karmis. In Bhagavad Gita, there are 5 truths which are mentioned. Right? Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala and Karma. So this material world there is a system which governs, which is a combination of this Prakriti, Kala and Karma. Prakriti is the gunas which are acting. Kala which is acting on us and Karma that we have done. And this system is so orchestrated, even if you don't want visitors, it will come. You've done 0 wrong thing, still it will come because the system, gunas are influencing us to act in a particular way, Kala is unfolding things, and Karma that we have done. This is the system which the Lord has created, so we go through this. The residue of karma doesn't remain for the miseries which are inflicted on us by the Lord. The detailed explanation of that I'll give you in the next verse. Actually, Bhishma is going to elaborate on this. But this is different from the suffering that we undergo because of our past karma, where the residue may remain and it may continue for the next life. Whereas the sufferings which are given by the Lord doesn't have any residue. It is meant to purify you. It is meant to intensify your desire for developing a love of God, which is different from this suffering.
Suffering by providence is...
Suffering by providence is different from the suffering by your own karma. past karma.
How do you differentiate the two?
Residues will not remain. So how do you know whether residues remain or not remain? You can, Bhishma is going to talk about it. But the point is, these miseries or these sufferings are meant to purify our senses. So for example, the unpleasant thing which we were talking about is completely based on the senses. And the senses, uniquely, every one of us have got a particular penchant or a particular taste for particular sense objects. And irrespective of whatever that sense object is, as long as it is material, it is bound to give us miseries. So there is a reason or there is a way to purify your senses. That happens by the sufferings inflicted by the providence. Any thoughts? Yeah.
Prabhu, in the verse you mentioned Kunti Maharani suffered because of her son's actions as well. I didn't understand that part.
So you see, okay, if I ask you, what is the biggest suffering that Kunti had gone through?
She had to go to Vanvas and all that thing.
She had to go to Vanvas because of what? Because of injustice action, because they lost this thing. So externally this looks like these are all very difficult things, isn't it? You have to be in Vanvas, you're a widow, you have to grow up your children. But why Kunti Maharani is praying that give me those pains again and again? It's because this pure devotees, they experience the real transcendental bliss because those moments they become more close to the Lord, they are absorbed in the Lord. And that happiness, you see how much of suffering gopis had gone through. Krishna never returned. And the destructions, if you hear in Bhagavatam, it is fully there, completely disoriented, dissolved, what they are doing, there's no reason for their existence. But they were experiencing some bliss inside. The sufferings intensify our love for Krishna, not our pure devotees. So they are put into this kind of sufferings for a different reason. That's why I'm saying one to exemplify, the other one is to intensify the love that they have. But for others, for us, all our past karma and to purify our senses and so on. So Yudhishthira's action apparently, externally, is the reason why Kunti Maharani had to suffer. But if you remember in the last class, I was telling when Parishit Maharaj was going in his kingdom and he found the bull and the cow, they were having the conversation, Dharma and Dharani, the earth and Dharma, they were having this conversation. And Parishit Maharaj was repeatedly asking, who has done this to you? And cow was telling, how can I tell you? The person who has done is sitting there, right in front, Kali. But he's saying, I don't know who created this problem. So in our lives also, if we try to find out the source of problem, it's difficult. Impossible. You can't anadi karma. Karma I have done because of which I am suffering in this way. You can't trace it. Who is the cause? We only see the immediate cause. He told like this, he did this thing. But this is all orchestrated based on some past this thing. That situation has been created. So even Dharma is not able to point out that this person is the cause of my suffering. Because we are blinded to see, we are only conditioned to see the immediate cause. It could be something else that is there. Anyway, this is a very interesting topic where Bhishmadev is going to tell us, give more reasons as to why a person suffers. And how suffering is inevitable and how we should respond in suffering. The magic happens when there are a lot of triggers in our life and how we respond. That gap which is there, if we understand that this material world itself is, the syntax of this material world is, it is dukkha. And if sufferings are coming and I am not getting affected by it and learning to respond in those situations, I have learned the art of living. So that will be all explained. Till 17th verse he is going to talk about suffering, different causes and different reasons of suffering. nice. Prabhupada talks about 4 regulative principles, at least. No meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication. So if you see any table, it has got 4 legs. So there are 4 legs on which dharma stands. Okay, there is satya, truthfulness. There is saucha, cleanliness. There is daya, compassion. And there is satya, saucha, daya, and austerity, tapa. Satya, saucha, daya, tapa. These are the 4 legs of religion. So these are the principles we have to follow. Now when you do meat eating, daya in the heart is gone. Compassion goes away. When you do illicit sex, then saucha, cleanliness goes away. When you do intoxication, then tapa, austerity goes away. And when you do gambling, satya goes away. So the religious principles are when you are not doing any of this for the illicit activities basically. No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. These are followed the 4 related principles. And in our times of crisis or in our times of difficulty, we get tempted to violate these regulated principles. We take to something. And when that happens, and when we are not having good counsel from the Vikras or the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, automatically we will not go to Krishna. Achyutashaya will not happen. And when that happens, there is a sense of despondency. Because of those 3 things. Those are the 4 religious principles, at least, which you have to follow. And if you see in Kali Yuga, that is rampant, where there is a violation of all these 4 religions. People want to indulge, intoxication, illicit connections. It's just live in this thing, that thing, so many things, extramarital affairs, it's so common. Then gambling, so many casinos, so many this thing, you know. And then, what is the 4th one? Austerity. Intoxication is so. Meat eating, yes, so common. When I was studying, I had gone to Kathmandu from Allahabad, then bus to play casino. And my father had told me one thing, that the most dangerous thing is if you win for the first time in your gambling. It's a fact. You can actually never win. But somehow the first time if you win, that gives you the temptation to continue. And you will lose money. Invariably you will lose money. That always stays with me. Anyway, these are some of the thoughts. Sorry, I think the system is not working today. But we will continue to see what Vishnu says. Wonderful words of wisdom and knowledge that Vishnu says. Very powerful. And this is coming on his deathbed. So, sometimes you have to reiterate to people, actually this is truth. Even Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he says, we are reading this 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Manmanabhava Madhyakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mam Nivishasi Satyante Pratijane Priyosime. Isn't it? 18.65. You will come to me and I jhoot nahi bol raha hu. Krishna also has to say, because we are so conditioned that सब कुछ हमको झूठी लगता है. Spirituality में सब कुछ. Vishnudev on his deathbed, why will he lie? What is the reason for him to lie? He's sharing experienced, realized knowledge for people like us to take it and take advantage of it. But still our dull mind says, nahin, हमारे पास और उपाय है, we will see, we will figure it out, we will struggle in this material world and we keep remaining here in this place. Anyway, we should be eternally grateful to this scriptures which are left behind and available to us by Prabhupada. Take advantage of it. Absorb yourself for hours, at least minutes, every day, and just meditate on those things and see how it can transform your lives, how it can bring a revolution in our actions, in our activities. So 100% possible. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, निताई गौर